Assalamu alaikum guys, Irfan Abdul back again with another video. And a few days ago I had uploaded a video talking about Excel and pivot tables. This is going to be a follow-up video. We are going to follow up and build on what we learned in that first introductory video and use that knowledge to go forward and do some really interesting things. Uh, in that video, we had only created pivot tables. So, like I said, since this is going to be a more complex, more complicated, more advanced video, we are still going to be creating pivot tables. But in addition to pivot tables, we would also be creating pivot charts. And then what we're going to do is bring the pivot tables and charts together and create a dashboard. So let's get started. As you remember from that video, the first one, we need a database from which to do our pivot tables. Now I have gone ahead and already set up a sample file here. I've just entered some names and numbers and dates and whatnot. If you remember from that video, I said the first row is the field names. So the condition was no name can be duplicated and no cell should be blank, because then the pivot table doesn't understand how to handle, if two cells have the same name, it doesn't know how to differentiate between the two, or if it's blank, it doesn't know how to handle that. So it is important that no cell, the row, no cell should be blank, number one, and number two, no name should be duplicated. So let's see if this file that we have created meets those two criteria. So let's see here. Okay, no cell is blank, so we've met one criteria. And the second was no duplications. So we've got customer, we don't have customer showing up again. Products, again a unique name, order date, revenue, cost of goods sold. So these are all unique names, so we are okay. So what we are going to do is we're going to highlight the database, and now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create the pivot tables. So what we're going to do is click on insert and pivot tables. Now this shows you the range and where you want the pivot table report to be placed. Maybe we'll go ahead and put it in the new worksheet and click on OK. So here, the pivot tables is under construction, and here you have all the fields. Okay, let's see. This first pivot table that we'll be doing is, and we'll be creating a chart out of that, is we will be looking at the top 5 dealers. Now, if you see here, let's go back to this sheet here. Now, your customer is New York Burger, Fries, and Fast Food. It's a chain of restaurants in the New York area. The products that they buy from you are French fries, tomato ketchup, and pizza. These are 3 products that you sell to them. This is the order date in which the order was placed, and revenue, how much was that particular sale worth. Cost of goods sold, how much did the product that you sold, how much was your cost. So obviously the difference between these two would be your margin. The financial year, this is when that order was placed. The financial year is from July 1st to June 30th. Sales month, obviously this is going to be February, this is going to be September, this is going to be November. Now sales quarter, because the financial year is from July 1st till June 30th, first quarter is July, August, September. Second quarter is going to be October, November, December. Third quarter is January, February, March. Fourth quarter is April, May, and June. So February is going to fall in the third quarter, because January, February, March was the third quarter. Now July, August, and September, that was the first quarter, so quarter 1. And then you have the salesperson who is actually servicing that sale. We have 4 people working for us. We have John, we have Bill, we have Julie, and we have Bob. And they have their own areas. Some of the areas may overlap, some may not, but essentially, John is going to be looking after the Brooklyn and Harlem area. Bill is looking after Central Park and Westbridge. Julie is looking after Greenwich, and Bob is looking after Madison Square. Now, when you are supplying now, New York, like I said, New York burgers, fries, and fast food, that's a restaurant chain. These restaurants buy these products from us, but they're serviced through dealers, the dealers in that area, and these are our dealers. And obviously, this the salesperson is facilitating the dealers in supplying these products to these restaurants. Okay, let's get back to our pivot table, and we are going to be looking at the top 5 dealers in terms of revenue. So what we'll do is let's just go ahead and rename this sheet. Double click, delete, top 5 dealers in terms of, well, that won't fit. And let's just make it in terms of in revenue. Okay. Now let's start working with our pivot table. We will pull the dealer down here, and obviously it's going to be revenue. So let's bring revenue down here. Now, as you can see, what it has done is has listed all the dealers, okay, and their revenue. Now, we said we are going to be looking at the top 5. So first, let's just first format these numbers so they have the commas for the thousands. So just makes it look better. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to sort this from the highest to the lowest, so that the first entry would be the dealer with the highest sales. So we are going to be right clicking, sort, and largest to smallest. There you have it. You have highlighted those, you have sorted those by the revenue, and you can see Sample Pizza is number 1, Acme Pizza is number 2, Madison Circle number 3, Lakeshore number 4, and Tasty Brothers is number 5. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to have it only show the top 5. We don't want to see the whole list. We just need to see the top 5. So if you click on this down arrow here and you pull it down to value filters and you come down to top 10. Now we are going to be doing top 5, but by default Excel thinks it's a good idea to have the top 10. So but we can change that. You can change that. So click on top 10. Now you see it says show top 10 items by sum of revenue. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that to 5 and click on OK, and there you have it. You have the top 5 dealers in terms of revenue. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to be creating a pivot chart. Now let's see how we do that. You go to analyze and pivot chart, you click here, and now you have the different options. You have the column, line, pie, bar, area, XY scatter, stock, surface, blah blah blah. So what we are going to be doing in this example, we are going to be creating a bar graph. So click here and you click on OK. Let me zoom out here. Okay, now these buttons, we're going to get rid of these buttons by right clicking and hide all field buttons on chart. Okay, this we don't need that here. Total, let's double click on that and change it to top 5 dealers in terms of revenue. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to put change some colors around, change some fonts and whatnot. So let's right click and you go to format chart area Okay, we are going to do a solid fill, and let's go. You can change the colors from here, but let's just go ahead with that color. That's a nice color. And what we'll also do is let's put a border around this graph and see how it says you're gonna have it a solid line. Color, you can change the colors too. Let's go with a red color. That would be a nice contrast with the pink. And let's make this line slightly thicker, and let's do a rounded corners. There you go. See how that was? You have customized the look of this graph. You have put in the colors, the background color. You have put in a border with round corners. Now what we're going to do is we want to save this style. I'm going to call it a style. We're going to save this style, and so we don't have to redo all these steps. So I'm just going to right click on that and go to save as template. When you save a graph as a template, all you need to, the next time you create a graph, all you need to do is apply that template on that graph, and that's it. That's all you need to do. So we're going to save this as a template, and we're going to call it dashboard chart template. Essentially, you can call it anything. I'm just going to go ahead and since we'll be using this chart in our dashboard, I just want to call it something that actually makes sense. So I'm just going to call it dashboard chart template, and you click on save. Alrighty. So we've got the first pivot table done. Now let's go and create a second pivot table. This time we are going to do the sales, and we're going to group them by the revenue. So let's go back to our database. Select all, go to insert, pivot table, new worksheet. Yep. Okay, now let's first rename this. So let's call it sales by group. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to bring the revenue down here, and we also going to put the count of revenue and make this into count. Okay, now what it tells you is there was one sale of $47.03. There was one sale of $70,127. There was one sale of $86,686. Unless you have a lot of sales of equal value, essentially what's going to end up happening is this count is going to be 1, because each sale is of a unique value. Now what we are going to do is we are going to group it. We are going to create groups, and let's see, you you just click on this down arrow and value filters. No, I'm sorry. You right click and you go to group. Okay, now this window opens up. Let me just zoom in a bit, and this tells you by default what it does is it takes the lowest value, and then it takes the highest value and puts it in here. So but we need to we'll be doing our own ranges. So instead of $40,703, let's make the lowest as 40,000, and let's make the highest as 1 million. And the grouping is by going to be $100,000 each. So click on OK. There you go. Now you see you have from 40,000 to 139,999. You have 5 sales. For 140 to 39,999, you have 8. So what it's done is it's created that ranges for you, the grouping for you. Okay. Now what we'll do is, let me zoom out. What we're going to do is we are going to create a pivot chart of this. And then if you remember in the over here, we had done this chart. We're going to use this template and apply it on the chart that we do here. Okay, so let's first go to click on analyze and pivot chart, and we are going to do a bar graph, and you click on OK, and I'm going to click on this and then right click and hide all buttons. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to change the I could have skipped one step, but let's just do it this way. Let's click on right click and then change type, and I'm going to show you how you can apply the template that we had selected. Okay, it just shows you. You're going to select this template. This is the only one that we have, and you click on OK, and there you go. So what it has done is it has applied the same style on this. Okay, so let's just change the title here, and the title would be number of sales per group. Okay, so we have got the second pivot table and chart done. Now what we need to do is we are going to create a third one. Okay, let's try and do that. I'm just going to close this, but I don't need this. Click on insert, click on pivot table, and again a new worksheet. Click on OK, and this time I'm going to do the fiscal year and the financial year in which the sale was made, and the sales month, and the sales, the amount of sales, the revenue, total revenue for that in that financial year, in that financial month, and the total of the cost that that you incurred in selling that product to your customer, the cost of goods sold by the financial year and the sales month. So let's first bring down the financial year and the sales month. So we have got, see how it's got this all set up like this. Okay, so in 2011-12 we got the sale was done in March and in June. 2012-13 February, March, and then there was a gap, and then October, and then December, and then 13-14 in Jan, Feb, then March, April there was no sales, June, July, then August, September, October there was no sale, and November and December. And similarly for 14-15 you have January, February, no sale in March, April, no sale in May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So just a couple of months missed here, and this is, a few months missing here too. But then this year is not it's still going to end at the end of this month, but still we're missing quite a few months here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to create a chart from this data. Oh, hold on. I still need to bring in the revenue and the cost of goods sold. And now what I'm going to do is, like I have shown you in the previous video, you can change this. Is what it's doing is counting. What I need to do is make this into sum. So I'm going to pull this down, value, fields, settings, and we'll select sum and click on OK. Alrighty. So what is that done is, this is the total revenue for 11-12 was this much, was 1,113,055, and total cost of goods that was sold was 856,197, and then for each month it tells you. So let's just go ahead and format these numbers also. So we have the commas for the 1,000 places, and we'll do the same to this guy here. Numbers with the 1,000 separator. I don't want any decimal places because there's no decimal place anyways, and it doesn't look good to have all zeros. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pivot chart out of this. So go to analyze and pivot chart, and this time we are going to do a column chart. This is going to be different from the first two ones. Those were bars, like so, but this is going to be a column. Click on OK, and I'm going to single click on this here. Let's zoom in. I'm going to single click. See how you have these buttons here? I don't want those showing up, so I'm going to click and then right click, hide all field buttons from on. That's gone. Okay, zoom out. Now a couple of things that I'm going to be doing here. First of all, I'm going to just drag it across, make it a little longer, and this legend here I'm going to bring it down over here. So just click, see how the box comes up with those handlebars. You right click and click on format legend. Now legend position, I want it in the bottom. Okay, so see how it moved from there to here. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to show the cost of goods sold in a slightly different way as compared to the revenue. Instead of these bars, the blue bar is showing the revenue, the brownish orangish bar is showing the cost of goods sold. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the cost of goods sold as a line graph showing on the same graph. So I'm going to have two types of graph showing on the same graph, and obviously the cost of goods is going to be a lot less than the revenue. Essentially that's how it should be, unless you're dumping your product in the market. Dumping is when you are selling it for less than what it cost you. Normally the revenue would always be more than the cost of goods, what it cost you. Okay, so what we're going to do is, this is the axis that's looking for the revenue. So the revenue is always higher than the cost. So if we are going to be changing the type of graph for the cost of goods sold, let's just do a secondary axis over here, and let's have different different axis, so that it uses different scaling when it's showing you the graph. So single click, and then you right click, format data series. Now it says plot series on the primary axis, which is this guy here, or a secondary axis. We're going to select a secondary axis. Now if you see, all of a sudden what has happened is we have this guy here show up. Now this the maximum is up to 3 million. Over here is 2.5 million, because like I said, the cost of goods sold is less than the revenue. So the maximum number that goes up here, it doesn't need to be as much as the revenue. And we are also going to change the type from a bar to a line graph. Alright, see how we did that? That was highlighted, and we changed the graph type. And now we have the blue bars here is the revenue, and the brownish bar, the line is the cost. Now what you can also do is see how it kind of goes very sharply. You can also have it, if you go back here, data series, go to color options and click on smoothen line. Close this. Now you see how it sort of like flows instead of like having sharp jagged edges. Alright, so we've got this chart created, and let's put a background color, pivot chart option, go to format chart area, and let's put in a color. Let's make this say green, and we also put the border, and let's make it a darker shade of green, and let's make it thick border, and we also going to have the rounded corners. There you go. Okay, so now what we have done is we have created a third chart. Now this was some of what this was doing is this was taking the fiscal years and months and these sales. So what we're going to do is financial year, month, sales, costs. Okay, now oops, I misspelled that. There you go. Okay, now what we're going to do is we have a three pivot tables and pivot charts set up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring all these, this guy here, this guy here, and this guy here. We're going to bring all three charts together on a separate sheet, separate worksheet, and then we'll create a dashboard out of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this plus sign here and see how it created inserted in the worksheet. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to call it dashboard. Zoom out. Okay, now we'll go to the first one. We'll click on this graph here, this chart here, and then we do a Control X to delete it out of here. We go to the dashboard and we'll paste it here. Let's just move it up here. Okay, and let's just reduce these. Okay, now we'll go to the second guy here and we will do a Control X and delete it out of here. Go to our dashboard and paste it here, and we are going to line it up with this guy here, and also just to make things look a little better, we'll make it about the same size. So now we've got the top 5 dealers in terms of revenue, and you got the number of sales per group. You got these two charts set up. Now we need to bring in the third chart. Okay, I just fix this. It's not month, it's month. So I'm going to take this, do a Control X, go to dashboard, and paste that guy over here. Okay, let's just make it a little longer so it's kind of sort of matches the. There you go. So you have 3 charts. You've got the top 5 dealers in terms of revenue, number of sales per group, and you've got some of the revenue and cost for each financial year and month. Now what we are going to do is we are going to, like I said, what we are doing this, we are now creating a dashboard. So we need to go to what we call a slicer. Okay, and we are going to insert slices, and see this button here, insert slicer. So we are going to insert. Now we are going to insert 4 slices. One is the financial year, then you have the sales month, and then you have, and by the sales region and sales, well, that's sales area and the revenue. Okay, so we have the slices we are going to create is for revenue, financial year, sales month, and sales area. Click on OK. So it has created these 4 slices. So let's just first do the financial year. You're going to bring this guy over here. Okay, now if you see up here it says number of columns. Right now it's just 1 column, so I'm going to make it into 2 columns. Okay, and just slightly increase the, that's too much. There you go. Well, maybe that's also too much. Let's just, yeah, that's good enough. And I'm going to reduce the height of the slicer. There you go. So I've got the financial year done. Now let's look at sales month. I'm going to bring this guy over here. Okay. And I'm going to go into options and change that into 3 columns and reduce the size just ever so slightly. Now I'm going to bring in the sales area. Okay, let's make this into a 3 column as well. Let's just do 2 columns so you can at least read what's there, and just reduce the size just a bit. And finally the revenue, I'm going to make this 3 columns. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make this little wider. Subsequently I'll make this wider too, so they all kind of look the same. Okay, and there you go. There you go. Okay, so you've got these 4 slices done. Now what we need to do is we need to connect these to these graphs. So you click on here, do a right click, and you click on report connections. Right now it's only connected to the top 5 dealers. What we need to do is connect to the financial year month and the sales by group. Similarly over here, do a right click, report connections, and we'll select all. So these are basically what we are saying is this slicer is connected to all those 3 pivot tables. There you go. And then the last one, report connections, and we are going to connect it here. There you go. I'm just going to bring this up a bit so it looks better. Okay, there you go. Now what we have done is, just to recap, we created 3 pivot tables and charts. Okay, we brought those charts over here, we inserted slices, and then we connected those slices to these charts. Now let me show something really interesting. What's going to happen is, right now when it's colored, these are colored in, means this is like a select all. Okay, now when you click on any one, let's call these buttons, these graphs will change automatically, because now these slices are linked. Okay, so if you want to see, say for example, top 5 dealers in terms of revenue just for the year 11-12, you click here. So Wayne and John and Mr. Ketchup are the top. Those are only, maybe there were only 2 dealers in that year, and top sales, and this graph changed. Now if you want to look at 12-13, click on 12-13, the graph changes. To 13-14, the graph changes again. Now 15-16, graph changes again. Now if you want to hold down the control key and you click on each button, that's, like I said, it's like a select all. Now what you want to do is, say for example, you want to look at the Brooklyn area only. So you just click on Brooklyn. Now it shows you the top 5 dealers in terms of revenue. Now there may only be 4 dealers in the Brooklyn and Salesburg group, and this graph also gets updated. Now let's look at the Central Park. Graph gets updated. Greenwich. Now what you can also do is, you can say I'm going to look at Brooklyn and I'm going to look at Harlem. So I'm going to hold down, I'm clicked on Brooklyn, And I'm going to hold down my control key and click on Harlem. Now what this means is doing these two areas together, and accordingly the graph has changed. Now if you want to say I'm going to also include Central Park, okay, graph changes, but I only want to do year 1415. Click here, there you go. So this is essentially how you would do a dashboard using pivot tables, pivot charts, and obviously Microsoft Excel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thank you.